The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Nordic Fantasies. Have the promo code MLB SGPN, score up to $1,000 bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgambles.com, Rhythm, sportsgambles.com, just RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Friday afternoon, roughly 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on August 30th. I'm your host of the episode, Scott Reichel, once again joined by Lonte Smith, and together we're going to break down the Saturday card. However, we're not going to break down the entire card. We are at that point in the season where there are a lot of games involving teams that don't matter, so we're going to cover 10 of the 15 games instead. Episode should be a bit shorter. We're going to focus more on the meaningful games. Lonte, how's it going with you?
Not bad, man. We're at the point of the season where you kind of just got to be selective in the plays and dialing it back a little bit until the postseason. I think we're like 1 month away from the actual postseason. So looking forward to that home stretch, man. And hopefully we can, still get some winners while still some competitive baseball going out there.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the overall remainder of the season. Should be fun. Couple of wild card races and potentially some division races that are still up for grabs, mostly in the AL Central. Should be fun, though. Looking forward to the rest of the season. Anyway, anything you want to add over the last couple of days? Any takeaways, or should we just get into the actual card?
Not really, man. We could just go ahead and get into it.
Cool. So before we get into it, I want to remind you once again that we do have some great deals in the merch store right now on the SGPN website, because we do have everything off the merch store, 10% off with promo code football. So once again, if you want to get yourself something involved in the MLB Gambling Podcast, a shirt, a tank top, a mug, we have some options for you, and you get 10% off at checkout with the promo code football. Plus, a reminder, the college football is resuming for week one. We already, of course, saw some games on Thursday. You have some games on Friday and on Saturday as well. But if you want some opinions from the SGPN guys, check out the Sports Game Podcast and the College Football Experience for their Week 1 picks. Anyway, time to get into the actual card. Starting off with the first game, we look at a matchup between the Cardinals and the Yankees. For this one, you have Gibson against Warren. And for the actual prices, the Cardinals are about plus 140. The Yankees are about minus 166. And the over-under is 9 or 9.5. Lonte would be very straightforward. Why is Will Warren ever laying 166? Give me the Cardinals money line with Gibson.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I like the over as well. I want to go a little bit heavier with St. Louis in the first five, to be honest with you. Gibson hasn't been that good either, but I mean, Warren should not be laying this type of price. I mean, he's almost ERA of almost 10 in 4 starts. Gibson's ERA is almost 7 in his last 5 starts. He's 2 and 3 in that span. So I think we see some runs here. Both teams hitting. Well, St. Louis actually is hitting, above 260 on 9 hits. They're 6 and 4 in the last 10, playing a little bit better baseball. So yeah, I like the better pitcher on the mound here. Yankees been, a bit disappointing as of late. So I'll take what I think is the wrong price here on St. Louis.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'll link to the over as well. Moving on to the next game, you have the Padres taking on the Rays. For this one, you have Vasquez taking on Baz, and for this one, you have the Padres at about plus 100. You have Tampa and Baz being around minus 120. And for the over-under, you have 7.5 or 8. Now, Baz, so far this season, has been better than Vasquez. However, we know that the Padres have been better than Tampa in general. Baz at home, though, has been worse, 4.15 ERA, but he has been better recently. Last 2 starts, 12 and 2/3, only 3 runs allowed. So he has kind of turned a corner on a season. As for Vasquez, he has been pretty underwhelming. 4.6 with a 5.42 ERA. Does have a 5.67 ERA on the road. Has given up less than 4 runs, though, in 3 straight starts. So I'm going to ask you, first things first, do you think Tampa should be favored in this game?
Honestly, I find myself, it's hard to kind of gauge with Tampa. San Diego, I'm really more in lockstep with as far as the odds makers. But both teams, right around 500 in the last 10. Tampa Bay's played 3 straight road series, so they're back home. It's usually a good fade spot, so maybe you want to fade them today instead of tomorrow. But, Tampa's offense has been anemic. They only scored over 2 runs twice in their last 10 games. They're hitting under 190 in that span. San Diego really crushes righties, 270 versus righties last 10, 5 runs per 9 in that span. I mean, I'm leaning towards the under, but I think San Diego can kind of get it done on the road. They got one of the better road offenses in the league. So give me San Diego at home. I mean, like you mentioned, Baz, he's fine, but I mean, I think San Diego's offense is good enough to get to him. So I think we see a low-scoring competitive game. I think we go maybe 3-4, 4-3, 3-2 type of game. But I like San Diego to get it done here.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence because I think that Baz is better than Vasquez, but Tampa can't hit. The Padres have kind of cooled off after they were in great form post All-Star break. So I think I'm going to take the even money with San Diego, but I'm probably not going to bet this. I really don't see much value in this matchup personally. Moving on to the next game, looking at a matchup between the Pirates and the Guardians. For this one, you have a matchup between Ortiz and Boyd. Now, for the actual money line price, you have Cleveland at around -162. For Pittsburgh, you have around +140. For the over-under in this one, you have it being set at about 8 or 8.5. So I think I'm going to go with Cleveland -1.5 here. Even though Pittsburgh and Ortiz have been fine this season, Boyd's actually been good since appearing with the Guardians midseason. He has given up less than 2 runs in 2 of his first 3 starts. He has currently won all 3 starts, as you are looking at the Guardians being 3-0. However, I do think the main reason why I go with Cleveland is the bullpen disparity. Pittsburgh's bullpen is awful. We saw that on full display in the Cubs series. They are a mess of a baseball team. Cleveland managed to salvage the last game against Kansas City in that last home series, which was pretty important, and I do think that's going to carry over. So I'm going to go with Cleveland in this one, -1.5. Pittsburgh, as far as I'm concerned, with the injuries to McCutchen, etc., I want nothing to do with this team. Give me Cleveland -1.5.
Yeah, I love Cleveland in this spot. Pittsburgh pretty much in sale mode, unless they got Jones or Skeens on the mound. I don't think they're backable right now. 3-4 in their homestand. They lost by an average of 6.5 runs in those games. Cleveland needs to get back on track. They're 1-3 in the last 4. All of those have been at home. If you look at the last 10 games for each pitching staff, the bullpen of Pittsburgh we know is atrocious. ERA over 9. Cleveland starters ERA around 6. So I think we can see maybe some runs here, whether that's early and late. So I like the over as well. Cleveland hasn't hit the ball as well. They're hitting like right around 220 last 10. They've been hitting the ball, but just not scoring. And Boyd, like you mentioned, he's been good, 3-0, 1 earned run in 2 of his last 3. So I think we see a boatload of runs here, most of them by Cleveland. I like that 1.5. I like Cleveland on the money line as well.
Yeah, I think that, once again, Pittsburgh, even if they're leading, you don't trust them because the bullpen is terrible.
Exactly.
So I'll go with Cleveland in this one as well. Moving on to the next game we're to talk about. We have a matchup between the Royals and the Astros. For this one, you have a pitching matchup between Cole Ragans and you have Kikuchi pitching. So Houston's -135. You have Kansas City at +115. For the over-under in this game, you have the line being set at 7.5 or 8. Big news from Kansas City over the last day was that Pasquantino will be out indefinitely. So he is going to be out for a while, which is a pretty big blow to the Royals lineup. We saw the Royals once again blow the final game against Cleveland, then they ended up blowing the game against the Astros on Thursday. But I do want to ask you, with Pasquantino being out of the lineup and with Kansas City's bullpen starting to kind of unravel, do want to ask you what your thoughts are on the Royals in this matchup, because to be honest, with Irsay getting injured and Pasquantino getting injured, I feel like I'm going to have to lean to Houston. Kansas City might be on the verge of an implosion, and I feel like I got to mention it because Irsay, I know he's been kind of hit or miss, but he's still one of the main relievers that they have, and Pasquantino broke his thumb. He's going to be out for probably the rest of the regular season. Is it a good sell spot for Kansas City? Because I feel like people are going to be high on the bandwagon. I'm kind of selling.
Yeah, I think short term for sure. You want to go ahead and sell here because he was Pasquantino was hitting the ball really well. Him, Sal Perez, and Bobby Witt were at the top of that lineup. One of the better 3, the top of the lineup. 3 guys at the top of that lineup in the MLB. So you mentioned the bullpen ERA last 10 is probably around like 6. They're averaging 6 runs per 9 in that span. I mean, I think the number is short because of Reagan's 4-1 his last 5, ERA under 3, 2 runs or less in 4 of his last 5. So I think if you have any signs or you want to play Kansas City, you probably want to play him early, like first 5. But I prefer Houston here. Kikuchi's been really good. He's 5-0 in his last 5, 2.89 ERA. He hasn't went much length, which, I mean, I guess that's fine, being that he has Houston behind him. So I like Kikuchi and the Astros here. I'm kind of leaning to the over as well. Both teams hitting above 250 above versus lefty. So, I mean, I think we can see some runs here. Kansas City's also over in 7 of the last 10. Houston's around 500 in that span. So I think we see runs here despite having 2 aces on the mound. So I'm going to go over, and I'll lean to Houston at home.
Yeah, so I was actually looking at the wild card race because Kansas City's currently 1.5 back, I believe, of Cleveland. There might be 2 back at this point. But I believe it is, what is it? It's 1.5. So Cleveland's 1.5 ahead of Kansas City. Cleveland wins the division, by the way, is currently minus 150, give or take, which
Mm.
I might not mind. I think that, once again,
Good
if you want
hit
to
spot.
sell on Kansas City, it's not bad. Kansas City, though, to miss the playoffs, to go through their actual wild card standings right now, they are currently 2 games ahead of the Twins. So I believe they are, sorry, let me just quickly pull this up. I believe they're 2 games ahead of the Twins for the final wild card spot, and they are currently 5.5 up on the Red Sox, currently 6.5 up on Seattle, and 7 ahead of Detroit. So if you wanted to go for Kansas City to miss the playoffs and you think they're going to completely unravel, you can get Kansas City to miss at 5-1. That is a pretty decent gap, though, so I don't really feel great about it the more that I looked into the standings. But I think Cleveland to win the division with them being healthy, or at least healthier than Kansas City, has some value. I don't mind maybe a pretty decent, in my opinion, snipe on the Guardians, who are at least healthy at the moment. Kansas City, I can't say the same. So, kind of my thoughts on that. I like Houston, though, in the series. This really might be a sweep as far as I'm concerned. I think Kansas City's got problems with the bullpen and with Pasquantino being out. It's a pretty important piece of that lineup, and he is leading the team with 97 RBIs. So, pretty big loss there. I'm going to go with Houston, and I think that, once again, Kansas City might be in trouble and, in theory, getting swept in the series. Moving on, though, to the final game before the break, and a look at a matchup that we're going to talk about between the Blue Jays and the Twins. For this one, you have Berrios taking on Matthews, and you have Toronto at plus 135. You have Minnesota at minus 160. For the over-under in this game, you have around a total of 9 or 8.5. Now, Berrios, we know, has been pretty good this season, better at home than on the road, but he was good last start in Fenway when 7 2/3 gave up 2 earned. He has given up less than 3 earned in 4 straight. Matthews, pretty unknown as a commodity. He has made a couple appearances this season. He's been fine. 1.13 ERA. Really going no length, though. Has gone to less than 5 1/3 in all 3 outings. For this one, even though Minnesota is the better team, and even though they are good at home, there's too much value on Berrios. Toronto's been recently, and I think that with Berrios giving length or providing length, and with Matthews not doing so, I see value on Toronto. Even if you do think Minnesota's going to win, I think that you're looking at a plus 135 on Bet365. That's a massive line. I'll take Toronto's been in good form over the last week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Toronto first 5 here, and I'll lean to the over. I like a lot of overs in tomorrow's cards, but Toronto is playing good baseball. 7-3 last team. Vlad's still hitting the cover off the ball. Minnesota not so much. 2-8, lost 4 in a row. 5 of the last 6 at home they've lost. But I think both teams can be able to hit the ball here. They're both hitting above 250 in their last 10. Combined 17.8 hits in that span. Berrios has been really good. He's won 4 in a row. 4 of his last 5 starts have went over, though. So that's something to keep in mind. Matthews, 2 of his 3 starts have went over. He's got a low hit rate. He had 1 bad start versus Kansas City. But I think Toronto, as constructed and how they've been playing as of late, I think they can be able to get to him. So I'm going to go Toronto first 5, and I guess I'll lean first 5 over, but I like the full game to go over. I think Minnesota maybe can kind of get things going, but I just don't want to lay it with Matthews right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned it before. Minnesota's in free fall. They've lost 4 straight. If you want to go back even further, they've lost 8 of their last 10. Why would I want to lay this price?
Right. No.
There's no reason for me to. The team's falling apart. So that also ties into Cleveland, the division, which might be a good spot to get Cleveland again. But Minnesota, I can't trust. I'll give me Toronto in this one. I backed Berrios in his last road start against the Red Sox at plus money. They won comfortably. So I do like the angle and the price quite a bit. Before we get into any of the other 5 games we're going to talk about on the Saturday slate, I want to remind you once again, they're brought to you by Untitled Fantasy. Because Untitled Fantasy, Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. You can play fantasy football the right way. A reminder, you have football season starting in about a week. So get your fantasy football entries in. But if you want to do it right, do it with Best Ball. Best Ball Mania is now live with $15 million in prizes. Nice specials and boosts on all your flex entries. For my actual underdog entry, I think I'm going to go to a WNBA play. Give me the higher on Asia Wilson. We'll go with her higher points and rebounds in this game. No Tina Charles. She had 42 points last game. I think that it's a good spot for Asia to have a monster game on Friday night. Sign the promo code MLB SGPN to claim a special first time deposit offer up to $1,000 bonus cash on a fantasy promo code MLB SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the first couple games for the Saturday card. Time to keep it going with the next game. Just finished the Toronto and Minnesota breakdown. Time to get into an NL East matchup that should be pretty fun between the Braves and the Phillies. Now, for this one, you have a matchup between... just trying to find the exact matchup here. Sorry, just trying to find it on the card. So the matchup here, you have Fried against Wheeler. For this one, the Phillies are about minus 150. The Braves are about plus 125. For the over-under in this game, you have 8 or 7.5. Now, we saw Philly come back and win the first game as Atlanta led, I think it was 4-0, and give up 5 unanswered. Fried has been fine this season, not amazing, but he's been fine, 8-7, 3.5 ERA. Wheeler, though, has been really good, and at home he's been even better. 2.45 ERA at home. He has given up less than 3 earned runs in, I believe, 5 straight starts. So he's been cruising. For this one, I think I'm going to have to lean to Philly, but I am going to go with the under. Maybe Philly first 5 minus half a run, but I see a pretty low-scoring game here, especially early. Give me the under 8.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the under as well. Maybe even a first 5 under. Atlanta's under in 7 of the last 10. Philadelphia, 6 of the last 10 have went under. Philly does hit lefties well, so maybe you want to take a team total over if you don't like the under for Philadelphia. They're hitting 270 versus lefties, 6 runs per 9. Wheeler's been lights out. You already mentioned the numbers. He's going good length, 6.1 innings average in his last 5. His hit rate has been a little bit higher, but at home, I trust him to kind of get things done. I don't like Fried like that. I think I pretty much mentioned that on all the shows that we do. Don't like the rotation of Atlanta outside of Lopez and Sale. So, well, I mean, of course, Strider as well. But yeah, I'm going with the under, first 5 under, and I'll lean to Philadelphia. I think it's appropriately priced as far as the side. But if I had to make a play, I would make it on Philly.
Yep, I feel the same way. Moving on to the next game, you have the Brewers taking on the Reds. For this one, you have a pitching matchup between Montes against his former team and undecided, from what I can tell. Now, for the actual money line, I see Milwaukee's about minus 130, and you have Cincinnati at about plus 110. For the over-under, you have around 9. Now, we saw the Brewers win the first game of the series in extras. Montes returns to his old team. He was not good with Cincinnati, but he ended up being decent with Milwaukee. He was not great last start as he gave up 4 runs in 6 innings against Oakland, but he has made 5 starts with the Brewers and he has a 3.33 ERA. We know the Reds constantly underachieve because they can't pitch and the offense has kind of cooled off recently. Milwaukee, though, has been solid, and I do think with them being a first place team, they're the better option. Pretty cheap price for me. Give me Montes on the revenge angle. I'll take the Brewers.
Yeah, I like the Brewers as well. I like the team total to go over. Regardless of who's pitching, they're hitting the cover off the ball. Last 10 games, they're hitting 370, 5 runs per 9. Cincinnati's also hitting the ball well, 261 in their last 10, 6 runs per 9. So I like the full game over as well. Milwaukee's pretty much handled this team this year. They're 4-2 head-to-head in their last 6 matchups. Montes had 2 shutouts in his last 5 starts. He's kind of been up and down in the other 3. I think 4 earned and then 3 earned, respectively in those other 3 games. So, I mean, he hasn't went deeper in the games in his last 2, so I don't know, that kind of concerning. I mean, I know Milwaukee's bullpen is okay, but I mean, Cincinnati's shown they've been resilient. They've been getting beat, but they've been resilient in fighting to the last inning. So I like that for an over. So I like the revenge angle, like you mentioned. So I like Milwaukee. Love the over, though. I think the over is one of the better plays on the card.
Yeah, I don't mind the over there as well. Moving on to the next game. You have a matchup. By the way, the over in that game, if I forgot to mention it, was
9,
set
right?
At 9. Yeah, so I don't mind the over there too.
Yep.
Moving on to the next game. You have the Orioles traveling to Coors to take on the Rockies. And for this one, the Orioles could use a bounce back because they did not fare that well in LA. So we'll see how they look in this one. For the matchup, though, you have Kramer against Feltner. You have the Orioles at about minus 180. You have the Rockies at about plus 150. For the over-under in this game, it is relatively large. It is currently set at 11 or 11.5. Now, Kramer was in really bad form for most of the year, but he's kind of turned it around lately, as he has been pretty good. Kramer's the last couple of starts, he has allowed less than 4 runs in 3 straight. He's allowed a total of 5 runs in his last 18 innings. So he has been definitely better as the season has gone on, and he has a better road ERA than at home. It is Coors, though, so who knows? See what happens. Now, as for Feltner, he is 1-10. He's been awful at home, and he's made basically 1 appearance in the last month. So we'll see how he looks here. Went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs against the Marlins, did give up 7 hits at home on Monday. For this one, I think I'm going to have to lean to the over, but I think I also have to go with the Orioles minus 1.5. Feltner's been really bad in Coors, and I know Baltimore was not great in Dodger Stadium. Dodgers are also a good baseball team. It is what it is. Point is, though, I think that Kramer's turned a corner, and I think that Feltner, who's 1-10, even when he pitches decently, the bullpen blows all the starts. So give me the Orioles -1.5.
Yeah, I love the Orioles in this spot. I think it's a big bounce back spot for them this weekend. They haven't been hitting the ball well at all, and they're under 190 in their last 10 as far as batting average. Colorado's actually hitting the ball well, so maybe you want to look at a slight lean to the over. But I think Baltimore handles business here. Kramer's been improved. Don't trust Colorado's bullpen. I think Baltimore's in for a big weekend here. I like them to kind of sweep this series and get back on track as we hit the home stretch. So I like Baltimore minus that 1.5 as well.
And I'm assuming you're leaning to the over or the under?
Yeah, I'm leaning to the over. I would much rather have the Baltimore team total over, so I don't have to worry about Colorado.
All right, fair enough. Moving on to the next game, second to last game on the card, you have an NL West battle between the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. In Arizona, you have Stone taking on Merrill Kelly. For the actual money line in this one, you have the Dodgers about -130. You have the Diamondbacks at about +115. For the over-under in this game, the line is currently set at 9. Now, Stone has been good lately. He was kind of having a home run issue midseason, and then he's kind of turned it around. He has allowed less than 2 runs in 3 straight starts. So he's been very good. Kelly, though, is undefeated. Currently, he's 4-0 with a 3.98 ERA. Very good at home, 2.28 ERA at home. However, last 2 starts, not good, 11 innings and a total of 10 runs allowed. Plus, the Dodgers own him historically, so I do think that he's in trouble here. I think Stone's undervalued. We saw the Dodgers look good against a pretty good Baltimore team. The offense got going again. Arizona was kind of stumbling against the Mets, and I do think that with Kelly's recent struggles and his overall historically bad numbers against the Dodgers, I'm going Stone here. He turned the corner. He's good again. Give me the Dodgers -130.
Yeah, man. Honestly, both of these teams, I don't want to fade. So we're gonna go with another over here, man. Arizona is +13 the last 2 games versus the Dodgers, and that was in LA. Both teams playing extremely well, so I just don't want to fade either squad. I'll root for runs here. 2 of the 3 losses for Arizona, they're 7-3 in their last 10, were by 1 run. I know the streak of Kelly has been, with against the Dodgers has been, well documented, and he hasn't been pitching well as of late. You mentioned those 10 runs in his last 2 games, but I think the offense kind of can get things going and get him maybe an early lead, and he can kind of settle down. So I'm leaning to Arizona full game. So I guess we disagree there, but I love the over. I think both teams can get to 5-6 runs here.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with the under in this one. I just think that Stone's going to pitch well, and I think Kelly will get in trouble, but I think he'll be able to give up like 3 or 4, and I think that might be enough anyway. But 9, I feel like, is a bit high. I think Stone will pitch well, so I'm going to lean to the under personally, but I prefer the Dodgers in this spot. Moving on to the final game that we're going to talk about on the card, you have a matchup between the Mariners and the Angels. The Mariners are in theory still alive, but it's not looking good. For the matchup, though, you have a pitching matchup, which is actually pretty intriguing, as you have, I believe it is Wu against Anderson for this one. For the money line, you have the Mariners at -175. Angels are +145. And for the over-under, you have the total at around 8. Now, Wu, we know this season's been incredible. He's probably the best number 5 starter in any rotation in the league. He has given up he's only given up 3 earned runs in his last 3 starts combined. So he's been great. And his ERA in general is well documented. He is definitely a very, very solid pitcher. As for Anderson, he was very good when the season started. Not great at home, though, 4.46 ERA. Recently, he's been struggling. Last couple starts, 5 innings, 2 runs against the Blue Jays. 6 innings, 11 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned against Kansas City. 5 2/3, 7 earned against Toronto. So he's kind of, I don't want to say unraveling, but it's not good what's happened to him for the last couple of starts. At home, by the way, he is 3-8 on the season. However, Seattle's laying 175, and they can hit. So I guess the question is, where do you want to go for this one? I think I'm going to go first 5 under. I'll dare these offenses to beat me. You're looking at the total being set at around 8, so maybe a juiced 4.5 you can find in the first 5. I don't mind that. I like Wu a lot. I think Wu's really good. So I'll go with the under in this game, mostly first 5 under.
Yeah, man, this screams 3-2 to me. For whatever reason,
are bottom 5 in runs per game. So
yeah, that's the number that I had in my head was 3-2. Went with a lot of overs early, but I like 2 unders here, like the first 5 under, like the full game under. Anderson, like he has been struggling, but he has shown flashes. He kind of just makes a mistake or 2 here and there. Actually, he's been good. I think a lot of his damage has been done with like 2 outs, nobody on, and then the team's kind of rally. So I think he'll be fine here. Of course, against one of the Seattle offense. The Seattle offense is probably the worst he's faced in his last 5 games. If I could think, I think he faced the Mets, Dodgers,
He faced the Mets, the
Toronto.
Yankees, Toronto twice, and Kansas City.
Yeah, so obviously this is a step down in competition for him offensively. Seattle doesn't hit lefties well at all. I mean, they don't hit anybody well anyway, but they're hitting under 210 versus lefties. The Angels are under 190 in their last 10, 2.9 runs per 9. So I think that we can get under this number in both the first 5 and full game. And Scott, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna just go ahead and we can lead into the lock and dog because this is gonna be my dog. I like the Angels to win it outright behind a good pitcher performance from Anderson.
I mean, it is a good plus money price. The Angels can hit, but neither can Seattle. I think for this one, I just expect to see once again another ugly game. Now, if you want to go for a prop, I don't mind Anderson walks because he's been walking a lot of guys recently. 10 walks in his last 3 starts. And Seattle does strike out a lot, but they also walk a lot. So I don't mind Seattle to walk a decent amount into this matchup. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the 10 games we're going to cover on the card. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. But part of that one, remember, once again, they're brought to you by Rhythm because it is college football season officially. NFL does start next week, and you can build your own betting model with Rhythm or use one of the pre-made Rhythm models to help you with your betting predictions. They give you predictions in seconds on money line, spread, total, and props. You can build your own model, or you can copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard. And a reminder, they give you a bunch of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. And a reminder that the Rhythm college football model did love Delaware State and the points. Fun fact, by the way, they do like Temple tonight plus the 42.
Oh, no. God,
if you want to go for that. So they do like Temple plus the points tonight. We'll see what happens. Claim or send it for your trial today, though, by going to sportscampus.com Rhythm, sportscampus.com, RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through 10 games from the Saturday card. Now it is time for the lock and dog picks. Lonte, I'm going to let you go first. What is your lock and dog for the Saturday card?
Yeah, so I went over the dog. We're going to go with the Angels at the plus price. If you want to split a unit first 5 full game, I think that's good to go as well. I'm going to go to this Toronto and Minnesota game. I'm going to go over the total. I think Toronto's playing really good baseball. Both teams hitting the ball extremely well. If you look at, I know Berrios has been fine, but 4 of his last 5 starts have went over. I think they can get to Matthews, the Toronto offense. And I also think that once Berrios is out, if he goes to 5 or 6 innings, I think the bullpen can be susceptible to some runs here from Minnesota offense, who needs to get going. They're at home. They haven't got going. The division is still in their grasp. So I think they'll be able to score some runs here. So give me over that number in Minnesota for tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the dog is going to be the Angels. We literally just went over it, so I don't want to regurgitate that.
Yeah, all good. I was just wondering, but I think Anderson could be in line to pitch well. We'll see what happens, but I think that it's definitely a good spot. Now, for my lock, I already know what I thought my dog was going to be, but then you mentioned Gibson's numbers recently, which has been really bad. So my lock instead, I'm just going to fade Warren. Give me the Cardinals team total over 3.5 at -140 on ESPN bet. I mean, Warren with a team total of 3.5 on the road with 9 guaranteed at bats is absolutely wild. Warren got torched by the Rockies on the road last outing. You know how hard it is to get torched by the Rockies on the road? So far this season at home, a 15.95 ERA. To go through his starts here, at home against the Rockies, 3 innings, 6 runs, 5 earned. Against the White Sox, 5 innings, 2 runs. That's the White Sox. Against the Angels, 4 1/3, 8 runs. Against the Phillies, 5 1/3, 4 runs. So 2 starts at home this season against the Rockies and the Angels. 2 awful road offenses. And he's given up 14 runs and 7 1/3. Give me the Cardinals team total over 3.5 at -140 as my lock. For my dog, I am going to go back to the actual pitcher that I won with as a dog earlier in the week. Give me Berrios in this one at about +135 on Bet365. But you're looking at Matthews, who's fine, goes no length. Minnesota has fallen off a cliff. They've lost 4 straight. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Toronto's been in good form lately, and Berrios has been pretty good in general over the last couple starts. +135 is massive, fading a team in free fall. Give me the Blue Jays money line at +135 as my dog. Lonte, for the home run pick, what is your home run pick for the Saturday card?
Yeah, man, we're gonna go with Paul Goldschmidt to get one off of Warren. Goldschmidt's been hitting the ball really good. He hasn't been resulting in home runs, but he's hitting like above 500 in his last 10. His last 5 games. He's been crushing the ball. I think Warren, it will be susceptible to a home run or two. I think Goldschmidt at the top of that lineup can kind of get it done. So give me Paul Goldschmidt to go long on Saturday.
Okay. For mine, I got to think of where I want to go with this because there are a couple of pitchers that are definitely worth fading. I mean, you mentioned the Cardinals game, so I'm not going to get into that as well. So let me just see if there's anything else I am somewhat tempted by for the card. Thought about maybe going Quintana, but then balls back to White Sox, and that is just a real
I thought about
idea.
going Sal Perez.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. I think I have to actually fade Estes from Oakland. He's given up 10 home runs in his last 5 starts, and I think that Texas can take him deep. The problem is he has not faced off against any Texas batters in his career. So I'm going to have to pick between Garcia and between Seager. Seager, we know, has been good all year. However, the righties have actually been good against Estes, and Garcia's been really bad all season long. But he's actually had a decent August so far. I'm looking at his numbers in August. This season, he has a 222 batting average. In August, he does have a 278 batting average, and he also has 3 home runs. So he has kind of been better as the season has gone on, and I think that he might be able to go deep in this one. Against Oakland this season, he does have currently no home runs, but maybe he's in line for a good showing. Let me just see Seager's numbers, though, against the A's, because I think Garcia makes sense, but I have to acknowledge that Corey Seager obviously has been all season long. I mean, Seager's got 11 home runs in August. I think I have to go Seager. Absolutely. I tried to talk myself out of it to go with a bigger price, but he's been great, and he's batting 292 against righties. I think I got to go Seager. Give me Corey Seager. I'll fade Estes in that one. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. A reminder, you can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find him on Twitter at XXLonteXX. Let us know in the comment section, by the way, if you prefer the shorter episodes with 10 games or the longer episode with 15. Just let us know. We're kind of trying something out. So give us some feedback. Let us know if you do like this format more than the other format. Lonte, anything else you want to add?
That's it, man. Just make sure everybody's safe holiday weekend. I hope you have a good holiday weekend too, Scott. I know we'll be back on Sunday, but yeah, I'm looking forward to some winners this weekend and college football, of course.
Yep, should be fun. Looking forward to the games tonight. My college plays tonight. Let's go Wisconsin. Until next time, though, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.